probably the solar battery thing. He's brought somebody in as a battery seller, builder. So we'll hear about that. Check our bylaws for something. Good evening. This is the Tuesday, September 30, 2025 meeting of the Town of South Windsor Planning and Zoning Commission. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This is the moment where you want to silence your phone, which I'm going to do. Okay. So tonight we have a series of public hearings, so I'll ask the secretary to read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that there will be a public hearing on Tuesday, September 30th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers of the South Windsor Town Hall to consider the following. Application 25-37P, Casarino Re-Subdivision. This is a request for a 3-lot re-subdivision of 8.62 acres, including a special exception to section 3.2.2 and site plan for 2 interior lots on property located at 50 Chapel Road, A40 zone. Number 2, application 25-40P, Down East LLC, BGS zone amendment. Request for modification to section 5.11 to allow for an apartment/rental community. Modify section 5.11.4, dimensional and other requirements for garden-style apartments, and modify language in section 5.11.8.E.3 to allow for other forms of heating and cooling. Number 3, PZC-sponsored amendment for modification to section 2.13A, 2-year temporary and conditional permits, the renewal process, and section 7.11.4.B, major home occupations, to allow for staff level renewals at the direction of the commission. And lastly, number 4, PZC-sponsored amendment for modifications to section 3.1.1 and section 4.1.1 residential and commercial use tables for large and small scale solar and battery sites. Modify definitions of solar types. Add definition for battery energy storage systems. Modify several criteria of section 7.20 and 7.21 solar energy systems. Add section 7.21A battery energy storage systems. Proposed changes include general requirements and site development requirements for the various uses. Copies of the applications are in file in the office of the town clerk and or the planning department and online at southwindsor-ct.gov/planning. At this hearing, interested persons may be heard. Written comments by the public will be received by mail or email. Persons who may require an accommodation can contact staff at 860-644-2511, extension 2329. Stephen Wagner, Chair, Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you. So the way we do the public hearing is first we allow the applicant to present their case, whatever it is they want to achieve. Then we get comments from town staff, which typically would include either our town planner, assistant planner, or our town engineer, And then we get comments from the public. Because the agenda is very long tonight, we're going to limit comments to 3 minutes. If for some reason someone needs more time, we'll see how we're doing as we progress time-wise. Then finally, commissioners will be allowed to ask questions, make comments, whatever. So if you happen to speak, or even the applicant, we'll be sort of silent. We won't answer your questions or get into a dialogue with you. That will happen when the commissioners are allowed to speak. So it would appear that Commissioner Foley, are you recusing yourself from the first application? Okay. We will proceed with application 25-37P, Casarino re-subdivision. Will the applicant, someone representing the applicant, come forward? And please identify yourself and sign in.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Jay Ursary. I'm a licensed land surveyor in the state of Connecticut and a principal in the firm of J.R. Russo and Associates in East Windsor, here representing the property owner, 50 Chapel Road LLC, and the Casarino family, who have been the owners of this property since the 40s. Sal Casarino and his wife Linda are both here this evening as well in the audience. This is an application for a re-subdivision of the Casarino property. There have been lots cut out of this in the past that front on Chapel Road, and that the re-subdivision is therefore statutorily required as it has been subdivided in the past. So we're looking at a single lot on Chapel Road, which would be a frontage lot, and then two interior lots which require the special exception, which would be accessed from Main Street. And can I control this from here, Josh? I can. Okay. Give me a second here and let's see how we get to the next page. Okay, if you want to look at the screen, and I'm guessing you all can see it, this is the key map of the property. And where I've got my cursor here now is Chapel Road. The 50 Chapel Road address is just above the cursor. It's lot 1 on the subdivision plan set, which is a frontage lot in your A40 zone. Meets all the requirements in terms of minimum lot area and setbacks and lot frontage and so forth. And then the frontage of 27 feet over on Main Street is located right here. Again, where the cursor is on your screen, that would be the access for the driveway for the two interior lots. The two interior lots are Lot 2, which is all of this area here and here in the rear, and then Lot 3, which is back here. Those two lots comprise just under 8 acres in size, so it's fairly sizable. Both those lots are fairly large. I'm going to flip over to the subdivision plan now. Let me go to the next sheet. This is your subdivision plan. Again, Chapel Road located here. This is the frontage lot, which meets your A40 requirements. All three of these lots are served by septic systems and wells. The soil testing was done with your health department and sanitarian. Soil testing was done in December of last year, soil testing and percolation tests. All this information has been submitted to the health department, and we have excellent soils here. These are very sandy, well-drained soils. In fact, some of them are excessively well-drained soils. Being in the Connecticut River Valley here, essentially in the lake bed, if you will, there's a lot of very sandy soils in this area. Some of the soils on this property are Manchester, very sandy loams, excessively drained. We had some perk tests that were faster than a minute per inch.
Could you bring the microphone closer to your face?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, very, very good soils for septic systems, and each one of these houses will be served by a septic in a well. So again, Lot 1 fronting on Chapel, Lot 2 and Lot 3 accessed from Main Street here with a driveway coming to the rear. Lot number 2 is, let me give you an acreage here. just over 5 acres, if I remember
So
correctly.
according to the diagram, it's 5 acres, 5.17.
Yeah, we're at, I think, 5.17, and the other lot is just over 2.5 acres in size, which would be Lot 3. So let me go over to the next plan set now. Next page. This is your layout plan, which is going to show us house locations, driveway locations, septic leach field locations, well locations, driveway locations, and I think most importantly on this plan probably in terms of the interior lots and the special exception would be the landscaping and the screening materials that are provided here for your driveway. So as you come in off of Main Street, the driveway enters. We have screening materials both right and left of the driveway as we come in. Those consist of arborvitaes, which are placed on either side of the driveway to prevent the screening for the driveway so cars are not visible going in and out. Then as we come in, you can see that the property widens out as we get into this area here. In fact, this area here is actually large enough for another lot, which I'm going to talk to you about a little bit as we move forward with this. But there is landscape material that's located here along this side, adjacent to the house to the south. More landscape material located here. This is actually Sal Casarino's sister that lives in this particular house here. Landscape screening here and landscape screening here. As we come down into lot number 2, we're in an open field area. And what I'm going to do while I'm talking here, I'm going to pass something out to each one of you so you can take a look at an overall aerial view that's from your town's GIS that gives you somewhat of a feel as to what this property looks like from the air. So this gives you an idea, looking at this, of what the property looks like from the air. This property has been in agriculture since probably somewhere around 1900, if I had to guess. When I looked at the 34 aerial, which we can see on the Yukon Magic website, this entire area was in agriculture at that point in time. Probably tobacco would be my guess. There are a lot of tobacco sheds that show up in the aerial. There were tobacco sheds on this property up until just a few years ago when the last one was removed. The Casarinos farmed it since the 40s, and most of it is still being farmed today. It's rented to a local farmer. So, and this aerial gives you a pretty good idea of what the land currently looks like. So Lot 2 and Lot 3 are both located in an agricultural row crop field. Again, Lot 2, just over 5 acres, Lot 3, 2.5 acres. And again, I want to point out the screening that we have shown in terms of evergreens here along the south side of lot number 2, screening between lot 2 and 3, between the two houses, although there's substantial distance there between those houses. There's hundreds of feet. The closest for lot 2 to a property line to the house is about 130 feet, more or less, to a property line. Where in your underlying 840 zone, the minimum side yard requirement is 20 feet, and the minimum rear yard requirement is 50 feet. So we're well beyond that in terms of what we're providing for building setbacks. If you look at the houses existing on Chapel Road adjacent to, or just to the east of lot 1, some of those houses are probably within 15 or 20 feet of each other side to side. So we're providing substantially more setback here in terms of setbacks to property lines and screening. So one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about a little bit was, and I'm guessing that most of you have probably read the narrative that was submitted along with the application. And that talks a little bit about the property, about the setbacks. the screening, and when you get to the end of this, one of the things that we did and we looked at initially when we got involved with this project was, you know, what's the highest and best use? How could we develop this? And initially, you know, we thought, well, maybe we could bring a road in off of Chapel Road, which you could, and bring it in, bend it to the right, and wrap it around where the lots 2 and 3 are, and it could be done. And we took a look at that, and we probably could get 4 lots doing it that way. But in looking at it, you know, the length of the town road, it just didn't seem to really fit right, to be honest. And it made more sense to keep the large interior lots within this area, because I think it's more fitting with the immediate area. When you look at that aerial, there's a nice mix of residential and agricultural properties here, and these acreages are large. I mean, 2.5 acre lot and a 5+ acre lot for the interior lots are very large lots. And we thought it was better in keeping with that than to try to bring a cul-de-sac in, sweep it off to the right, then to the left, follow the property line and cut lots off of it, which you could do, but when the Casarinos looked at it, they decided that this was probably a better layout than an actual residential subdivision under your subdivision regulations. So we stuck with this layout and have moved forward with it in terms of the application that you have before you. You'll also note in your packets that you had some comments from staff. We had planning comments. We had engineering comments. And we've gone through all of those, and I'm not going to read them all to you because I'm sure you don't want to be bored to death. You do have a long meeting tonight. But there's a letter here from my partner, Tim Kuhn, who was the engineer involved with this, addressing all the comments from the town planner, the town engineer, and from conservation as well, and providing all the information that they had asked for and addressing all the comments that they had, and at this point we feel that we have adequately addressed everything that they gave us in terms of the memos that came through. So that is a basic overview of the application. As I said, 1 frontage lot, Chapel Road, A40 zone, and the 2 interior lots with the access off of Main Street. So if anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them if we can.
Thank you. Now, if we have comments from town staff.
Thank you. So this is a request for a 3-lot re-subdivision of 8.62 acres, including a special exception to section 3.2.2 and a site plan for 2 interior lots on property located at 50 Chapel Road in the A40 zone. This application is subject to the special exception review criteria of section 8.4B, which you all have that criteria in front of you. From a zoning perspective, this application appears to comply with our zoning regulations, including our interior lot requirements. Lot areas of all 3 properties exceed the required minimums. Yard setbacks, lot widths, and lot depths all exceed required minimums. And lot coverages are well below the maximum percentage. The interior lots, as mentioned, will be accessed by an 18-foot driveway from Main Street. If any tree clearing in our town right-of-way is proposed, the developer shall coordinate with Marco Mucciacciaro, our town tree warden. Our subdivision regulation checklist requires site triangles at driveway intersections. This was provided to staff, and both driveways on Main Street and Chapel provide 390 feet of site distance in both left and right directions. The fire marshal has reviewed the plan and noted that per our town public improvement specs, a hammerhead turnaround and vehicle pull-offs for fire apparatuses is required. That is shown on the plans. There was a comment about the driveway being paved with asphalt. It seems that a portion of the driveway, including the hammerhead turnaround, is still shown as being gravel. There are no regulated wetlands on site. However, this application proposes disturbance more than 1/2 acre, and thus approval from the Inland Wetlands Agency and Conservation Commission is required. That application is currently pending and on the October 15th agenda. As part of the Planning and Zoning Commission new inclusionary zoning regulations, and in accordance with Chapter 3, Section H of the subdivision regulations, a fee in lieu of affordable housing is required when 3 or more new building lots are being created. The fee will be a little over $51,240 exactly, based on Table 1 fee formula, which is calculated based on our regulations and also information provided in the International Building Code. This fee is payable on a per lot basis at the time of initial conveyance of each lot. We'd also like to note that a representative house footprint is shown on the 2 interior lots. If this application is approved, when an actual house plan is submitted, it is especially critical for elements to remain as shown on this application. The applicant and any purchasers need to understand that any modifications other than very minor ones would need to return to the commission for approval. If this application is approved, the planning department has no additional comments. As far as engineering comments, I believe everything was satisfied. If you had something else. Yeah. So engineering comments have been none to be provided.
Thank you. So now we'll listen to members of the public. If you could set the timer to 3 minutes, Josh. Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak regarding this application, either in favor or opposed, or just having general comments? Please come forward. And we ask each of you to identify yourself verbally and sign in.
Hi, I'm Jane Goodwin Robinson. I live at 588 Main Street, probably, well, 2 houses down from where it's accessing in from Main Street. Okay, so I heard an 18-foot driveway. I don't get an 18-foot driveway. So can someone explain to me how that's an 18-foot driveway? Going from Main Street all the way down to those two lots?
We'll answer your questions later.
That's one question.
Okay.
Well, I got a question there. I want to know where the wetlands are and how that's being addressed. I also want to know where the water's coming from for these houses, and I want to know where the septic is. And also, I see 2 lots there, and that there was some mention about a 3rd lot. I want to know about that. And also, is that a 3rd lot that's coming off of Chapel next to Sanborn? Or I'm not quite sure what that is to the right of Sanborn. Also, I want to know about how far are those lots from all those people that are on Chapel Road? Something about 50 feet? I'm not sure. I can't really see a scale there because all of those lots that are next to that lot at the bottom doesn't appear to me to be 50 feet, but maybe it is. So those are all my questions. I don't know who can answer all those.
We'll give the applicant a chance to answer
Thank
those
you.
later. Thank you.
Were you able to sign in?
Oh, I have to sign in? Okay.
Thank you, Josh.
Hi, Johanna Foley, 540 Main Street. I live at, this is my backyard. I live in the original Casarino house. I appreciate some of the things that were brought up about the history of the agricultural, which we all know my house dates to 1839, that it was the history of the neighborhood. The house placement on Chapel Road makes sense to me, that it just fits right there with a road a driveway to the road. But the 2 backlots, I'm just concerned about. So the driveway being very long, it looks like there's only about 25 feet wide of space there for the access. So I understand the buffering trees that I noticed today from this drawing, but how does that fit into the space that's there? How do the trees fit in? What happens when the trees get larger? How are they maintained? And this long, long space to these back placements of these houses that are in the agricultural area traditionally. And really what are the size of these houses? What are these houses gonna look like? And, you know, the access to the water and electricity going to Main Street. You know, it says Chapel Road, but 2 of these sites are access to Main Street. And the concern of, that was brought up by the last speaker that, or the speaker that originally pointed out a possible 4th lot. So what does that mean? What is in that space that's there? And what would that look like in that long, long driveway to that back space? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna sign in first.
Make sure the microphone is close to your face, please.
Okay. My name is Paolo Cianti. I own 112 Chapel Road, which is the lot adjacent to the proposed 2 rear lots. I'm here to voice my opposition to the proposed addition to the 2 rear residential lots on the farmland adjacent to my property. I purchased my home 3 years ago. One of the main reasons was because of the open farmland surrounding it. Behind, they grow sod, and it's been field corn and this year soybean on the proposed lot. And then on the other side is also farmland. It's always been agricultural. This proposed change would dramatically alter the character of the area. My main concerns, number 1 is the flood risk. This land is low-lying and prone to flooding. Adding homes may increase runoff and worsen flooding issues, not only for my property, but for the surrounding neighborhood. In the wintertime, from December into March, this area floods heavily. I know he mentioned the sandy soil, but when the ground is frozen, the sandy soil does not soak up the water. I have flooding in my basement and my whole neighborhood. In the wintertime, it's a big problem. I don't know how that would be affected when houses are put onto this property. We also actively farm my property. I have an orchard right along on my property along the proposed 2 lots. So if any water is redirected there, it could impact what I do. We also have livestock. Introducing new houses so close to our operation could create conflict between
Can you move the microphone closer to your face, please? Thank you.
Our operation, introducing new houses so close to our operation would create conflict between farming practices and residential development. And lastly, protecting farmland character and town resources. South Windsor has a long history of farming, and once farmland is lost to development, it's gone forever. Preserving the farmland protects the town rural character and identity. On top of that, our schools and town services are already overburdened, and additional housing would only add to that strain. Like I said, like the last person said, I have no issue with the lot on Chapel Road. I feel like that fits as well, but especially if you were to see the area, these 2 rear lots, they really don't make much sense, especially coming in from Main Street. I also have an issue with how long the driveway is. It doesn't make sense, and it's too narrow. For these reasons, I respectfully urge the commission to deny the request for the 2 sub-rear lots. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak about this application?
Good afternoon. My name is Lynn Davis. I actually live on 62 Chapel Road, which actually abuts directly next to the lot on 50 Chapel Road. and also the proposed development behind there would actually directly affect me as well. One of the issues I have is that to the right of my house, which is, alongside 50 Chapel Road, I do have an easement that was granted by the court, and I'm concerned about how that easement would be preserved, because that easement allowed me to have access to my lot. Mr. Casarino had, we had to go to court to fight over something that had been used for over 60 years. And when I lived there, all of a sudden he felt the need to take that from me. And then he also, court had granted the prescriptive easement, and it's been recorded in the court. But then he was supposed to remove the chicken wire, and he never did. He only removed to a certain level, extent for me just to have access. But then he never maintained the property, and he let things overgrow. There's poison ivy, there's sumac. He just neglected it. But then the other thing I'm concerned about is that since my house is a little higher, if you do the development, how will that affect the erosion? Because if my house is a little higher and the way the lot goes, it slopes downward on Chapel Road, how will you retain the soil from eroding? The other point that I wanted to point out is that, in the development, will it affect any of the trees that's on my lot that provide shading? Because when you do development, the root system of those trees can get harmed and can affect those trees. And then the third reason I'm looking at is also that I believe stated in the 2024 Plan for Conservation and Development on page 3-14, there is the 2 interior lots are within the open space plan target properties that is dated from 2023. For those reasons, I asked the board to really consider denying this application, and that we oppose it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this application? All right, seeing none, I will then ask.
Did receive one letter, which I gave to Commissioner
okay.
Dexter.
Do you have that? Oh, that was our speaker?
I think it was signed by multiple people. I don't know if you still want to get that for the record, but up to you.
Yeah, I think we probably ought to read it into the record. Yeah. We're having trouble finding it. Was it put here when we sat at our seating?
It was in Commissioner Dexter's place with the other materials.
Okay, we have it, yes.
Okay, I will read it. So this is written to the commission by Lynn Davis, who we just heard from, and James Davis at 62 Chapel, as well as Carrie Smith at 60 Chapel. And it says, to whom it may concern, as abutters who live on 60 and 62 Chapel Road, we oppose the special exception to section 3.2.2 and are against the subdivision of the lot on 50 Chapel Road to 3 lots that would create 2 interior lots. 1, it would directly affect our use and enjoyment to have the development of 3 houses surrounding our home and land. Our house sits next to the lot on 50 Chapel, and we have a prescriptive easement as noted in the town record and granted by the court. We want to maintain access and use to our lot as preserved by the easement. The owner of 50 Chapel had been ordered by the court to remove the chicken wire fence he put in, attempting to block us from accessing our lot, and this was reversed in court when granting the easement. He removed part of the fence, but not the whole fence as ordered by the court. In addition, along the fence, nothing had been done to prevent the overgrowth of vines, sumac, poison ivy, weed bush, debris accumulated through the years, even when they bushwhacked the lot, creating a blight and affecting our use. Number two, development can affect the grade of our land and our use through erosion. Our land sits higher than 50 Chapel and slopes down into the open lot. We also have large trees that provide shade for our yard, which development could affect the root system to these trees that are on our land. Number three, according to the town's plan to maintain open space as stated in the 2024 POCD, pages 3 to 14, the two interior lots are within the open space plan target properties, dated 2023. The two interior lots would go counter to the conservation design to maintain the rural history of the town. We respectfully ask the Planning and Zoning Board to reject this proposal and application.
Thank you. Okay, in any case, hearing, there are no more people who wish to comment? Okay, in that case, we'll move on to let commissioners speak. Commissioner Kowalski?
I had a similar question on the driveway that's going to go to the back lots. That was already asked, so would like an answer on that.
Kevin Yarrow?
I would say I don't. Oh. Okay, it still works. That's good. I would say I don't really have any questions at this time. I appreciate the presentation. I do have a couple comments, and I'm in the middle, and of course willing to keep an open mind till we close the public hearing. But I'm on the fence with this one, and I don't normally say that, and I say that for good cause because I want to challenge the commission's beliefs here for this application. But I currently believe that I don't think this application is within conformance of our POCD. I agree with what the testimony just said. We have farmland and open space, even if it's not town designated open space. We have farmland or former farmland that's just sitting there, either not being used or it's being owned. And within our POCD, you know, we emphasize sustainability, and that also comes forward with trying to maintain and preserve a lot of that open space and that farmland, and trying to put, I don't want to call them McMansions, but like single family homes there. It doesn't sit right with me. We also have an affordable housing plan, which there are some good parts of this application. I'll get to the pros at the end, but we talk about diversifying our housing stock. This isn't it. I do acknowledge point 10 of the planning department report. There's $51,000 for our affordable housing trust fund, which will go a long way towards our social housing in the future, which, you know, we'll need. So that's sort of why I'm on the fence. I would like to hear what other commissioners think, because at this time I'm not entirely sold on this, and that's why the public hearing, we're having it now and it's still open. But I hear the public, and it's yeah, I mean, it's farmland. It's near Old Main Street, and there's a rural charm. And when it comes to this, there's more parameters of what we need to judge it on. So even if it was like multifamily, like I'm not sure that probably would not fit there. I will be completely transparent and honest. And even these kind of homes, I'm willing to keep an open mind, but I want to hear what the commission has to say.
Commissioner Lettieri?
I appreciate the presentation. I definitely appreciate the comments from the public. I just had a couple of quick questions. The address of lots 2 and 3, would that be Main Street or would it be Chapel Road?
Main Street.
548 and 556 Main Street.
All right, so then would lot 1 also have access to the driveway that comes off of Main Street?
No,
It would not, right?
no.
Okay, then maintaining that driveway would be whose responsibility, so that it would remain clear if a fire truck had to come in or anything else had to come in?
Yeah, the maintenance responsibility would be lots 2 and 3,
Both lots together?
combined, correct.
Okay. All right, most of the other questions got answered. I think I have a couple of the same thoughts that Commissioner Cavaniero had, but I'll be anxious to hear some more. But that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Dexter?
You know, we're all just interested in this 18-foot road in. I see where it comes off Main Street, but I'm trying to envision, is it dead straight? Is it curve around the trees that I see on the aerial? How many feet long is it total, or yards? seems like a really long driveway.
Okay, to answer that question, again, for the record, Jay Ursary, J.R. Russo, the driveway is 18 feet wide. I know one of the folks from the audience had a question on, and maybe they were confused about whether we were talking about width or length, but the width is 18 feet, which is required in your public improvements regulation. You have approved some that were less than that in other locations, one on Strong Road that we brought to you just a couple of years ago. Very similar to this, almost the exact same setup. 2 rear lots, gravel driveway, 15 feet wide, same length as this one, about 1,400 feet long, roughly.
1,400?
Correct. Those lots are currently under construction. This particular location, again, the driveway is not straight. It does have some curves in it, and I'm going to do my best to kind of follow coming in from Maine along the cursor. We have a straight line here where we're at about 25, 26 feet wide in width. Once we leave this area, we do begin to curve a little bit. As we come through here, we're following basically the existing grade or contours, so there's no real change in grading per se. And then it turns here and heads to the north. One house located here with a driveway. The second Lot 3 house is located here. And then you heard some discussion about a hammerhead turnaround for the fire truck, which is located back here. So there's enough room for them to pull in, turn, and come back out. So no, the driveway is not straight. It is 18 feet wide.
And 1,400 long.
It's about 1,400 feet long, almost exactly the same as the one on Strong Road, which you approved a few years ago.
Then I wanted to ask about wetlands. You know, my ears cropped up. Did this have to go before wetlands? Michelle or Justin?
This is going before the Conservation Commission for Soil and Erosion Control reviews only. There are no wetlands on this property. We had it investigated by a soil scientist. There's a letter in the packet. Not sure if you had it. I know it went to conservation, but there's no wetlands here. Very sandy soils, well-drained soils, no wetlands.
So the comments about flooding in this area is unfounded? You'd go to the bank with that?
I would say that it's unfounded. Mr. Casarino was here behind me. He lived his entire life here up until very few short years ago.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever flooded. It's not in the flood zone. It's some of the droughtiest, sandiest soils I've seen in the 50 years I've been in this business. It's very, very fast percolation rates.
We have a resident who's experiencing flooding of some sort. So.
I've never seen it here. I've worked here for a long time. I've been in South Windsor, done a lot of work in South Windsor. I looked at all the FEMA mapping. There's no flood zone on this property, and I find it very difficult to believe that it could flood.
Okay. So based on that, the addition of 2, I'm assuming large homes, are not going to affect the topography at all, or the grade of what we have now?
There's no changes in grading patterns, no changes in drainage patterns, and there will not be any flooding due to these 2 new homes on the interior lots.
Right. My last comment is about the easement.
The easement is shown on the subdivision plans.
All right, so the easement off Chapel you're aware of and acknowledge that?
We are aware, it's shown on the plans and noted as such.
Okay. The only other thing I would say is there's a lot to absorb here. Maybe this would be a good item to keep open. That's all.
So just, I received a note that my mic isn't working. Is that correct? Okay. How about if I use this mic? Is that better? Yes, I can hear it. It's better. Okay, sorry about that. Commissioner Kupchinas.
I'll agree with everybody else. I don't know which direction to go on this. You know, it's conserving some beautiful farmland that we have in town. I'm sure there's some nice houses. There's big lots, which I'm in favor of too. And I don't know which way to go on this as far. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Kilburn.
Thank you. Question on these lots and the homes. Are they speculatively going to be built looking for a buyer later, or are there people kind of lined up wanting something built in this town? Just curious.
They will not be built on spec, no. These will be lots that'll be sold to someone that wants to build a new home. As I think probably most of you are aware, the housing market and the real estate market is very difficult right now. There's not much for sale. You're going to see another rear lot before you later this evening, which I'm going to share with you right up the street from this on Main Street, which you approved a few years back. So there is a very good market for this type of subdivision and lot currently.
Okay. One of the abutters had concern about the easement for their property bordering the number 50. And is that being addressed properly to meet their application? They did speak of a court decision granting it, and to me, that's a concern. I don't think it's quite settled yet in my mind.
The easement is shown on the plans. It is notated on the plans, and it is a civil matter between two property owners, and I don't think it concerns this commission.
Do you have any letters from property abutters to this in favor of this application? There are 4 people that spoke in 1 letter. Is there anyone that abuts this that likes it? Do you have anything like that to offer us?
I do not have any, no.
Okay. That's important to us. Okay, thank you.
Okay, my turn. So first of all, what's the nature of this easement and on what property is it located?
It's located on Lot 1 at the southeasterly corner of Lot 1. If you look at your plan, you'll see it there.
Can you, I don't know if you can enlarge that.
I'm going to point it out to you here. It's 12 feet wide, and I forget its exact length. It's maybe 80 feet or 90 feet long. It's my understanding they have the use to walk on it, walk over it. They can't put anything on it. Mr. Casarino still owns it, and the court awarded them some use of it. I'm not sure really why. I don't know what it really consists of, but it's notated on the plans. And there is nothing shown on the easement area in terms of improvements because it all falls within the side yard requirement. So we couldn't build anything there anyway.
Can you zoom that in? Do you have that?
Yeah, it should be that magnifying glass icon. I can come up and try.
There you go, right there.
What page is that? Is that page 3?
Okay, the easement is shown here, and it's blown up a little bit here. You can see it. As I said, it's 12 feet wide. It extends back, maybe not quite halfway back into the lot, and it all falls within the side yard setback requirement.
Okay, thank you on that. So let's see, got my question about the driveway answered. How far away are any wetlands? Do you know, any idea? I mean, that was one of the questions.
The wetlands would be associated with the brook off to the east, you know, where we come down the toe of the slope, for example. And I can't remember the name of the camper facility that's located on Route 5, but if you go over the bank behind them, you come down to the brook. That brook flows underneath Chapel Road, quite a bit east of this. It's hundreds of feet away. There's no wetlands close to this property that I'm aware of or have seen. If you look at your GIS, you would.
These folks are going to get well water, basically?
This would be well water, correct. Well and septic.
There were a lot of questions about the 4th lot, which I guess is that, if you could just talk about that a little more. We're not really talking about building a 4th lot, right?
There is no 4th lot shown on this plan. However, when we did some initial planning, we looked at bringing a subdivision road in off of Chapel Road where Lot 1 is located. Could be done, could be brought out into the field area where we could get additional lots, probably 4 lots, as I said. We decided not to go that route, felt this was a better fit for the area, having the large interior lots within the agricultural area. Basically, you've got 2 lots on just shy of 8 acres in size. So it's a very large area for 2 single-family homes, where in the underlying zone, it's 40,000 square foot zoning, less than an acre.
And we had a question, how far would these houses be from the Chapel Road houses? I think is probably the right question.
Yeah. And it's actually, it's shown on this plan that we have in front of us here. The dimensions are on there, but it's also shown on this little handout that I gave you. Okay? And I've got the house shown there on Lot 2. Lot 2 is the closest. It's from the corner of the house shown southerly to the closest property line, which is the rear of the Chapel Road properties. It's 136 feet away. Again, the side yard setback requirement is 20 feet. So the distance from that house to that property line being 136 feet is about the width of 2 of the houses on Chapel Road. It's substantial in distance, and we're providing screening. In the summertime, there's almost no visibility through there. With the evergreen screening we're proposing, there will be no visibility through there from the neighbor who got up and spoke, I think number 52, directly to the east of Lot 1. There is no current visibility from their house to either one of these houses in the field to the rear of the interior lots. They cannot be seen. It's heavily wooded.
Okay. I think the gentleman who was speaking about flooding, I'd like to hear from you again, a little bit more detail on what you've experienced. If you'd come. Yes, please. And again, identify yourself.
My name is Paolo Cianci. I'm adjacent. I'm at 112 Chapel Road. I think I have the most land abut to this property. The flooding is in the wintertime when the ground is frozen. That's when it floods, and the water table rises, and we get water in the basements. And actually, Mr. Vittieri brought up a good point with the road. You have a 1,400-foot road off of Chapel Road, off of Main Street, and you have 2 homes that are going to have Main Street addresses with only 18 feet of frontage. And then it brings up another point. If there's some kind of emergency, where are the fire truck, where are they going to access those 2 rear lots from?
Okay, but let's just focus on the flooding, if you don't mind.
My fault.
So, do you know where the water is coming from, or is it the ground? Is it the ground? The water.
The water table being
the
so
water
high,
table.
and it's when the snow melts and the ground is when the snow melts, we get rain afterwards. It floods. I mean, we have pictures of the backyard flooded, my basement flooded. It happens, like I said, December to March. In the summertime, it's not going to happen. He is correct. The sandy soil does soak up the water, but in the wintertime, it is a big problem.
Okay. Maybe our town engineer could comment on, you know, if we have any idea what's going on here.
I guess my first question is, does the basement have a sump pump?
Yes, we had to install 2 more because it was not the one sump pump was not adequate enough.
Yeah, so I understand what's happening. The groundwater is freezing up to the water table, and water is infiltrating through their foundation walls, essentially. And
Can you put the mic closer to you?
Sorry. So during the winter, the water will freeze up to the ground table, the water level of the groundwater, essentially, and that water can't infiltrate into the ground anymore, so it finds its nearest point of access, which will be your concrete foundation walls, basement walls, essentially, cellar doors. And I can't really give a exact opinion on if this development would change that or not, just based on I haven't seen your home, I haven't seen the actual flooding, so I'm going based off just this conversation we're having today. So I would need a lot more information before I could really dictate if this design will really have an effect on the abutting properties. That is just a natural occurrence that happens on many homes, I would say, throughout Connecticut. Just from my experience, I'm a homeowner. I've had flooding in my basement in the winter as well, with a sump pump as well. And sometimes it just isn't enough to keep up with the heavy 1-inch rainfalls that we've gotten in January lately, you know, it's definitely changed the last 5 years, the amount of rain we get during the winter periods compared to what we did in the 90s and early 2000s. It's a very different stormwater event that's occurring lately. So,
And this would be your expertise, but by digging and adding foundations in the vicinity, like I said, it's right up against my property.
and I'm sorry, can you point out where your property is
Maybe can
exactly?
can we just zoom out a little bit more, please? Unless I could do it on here.
I would just like to know exactly.
Yeah, no,
where
I'll show you
is,
exactly
yeah.
where it is. And I have orchard as well, is right up against the property, and that would affect my trees as well.
But what could,
I'm Paolo Cianti. I don't know how many feet. It's got to be at least 400 feet.
You want to take the...
Yeah, please. It won't let me drag.
Nope.
All right, so
You're right
from
at the
from
corner
right
there.
here all the way up this is all my land,
Okay.
which we
And roughly,
So
where's-
what, so
where's
what I
your-
can say about the proposed grading plan on the proposed development here is they're not changing the actual condition of what's out there today. If anything, I would say they're somewhat improving the grading in this area. So I don't think this development will actually improve or, it won't affect, you're gonna have the same condition no matter what, if there is a development there or isn't, essentially.
Would it be okay if we touch back on a separate topic, if that's okay?
Okay,
I guess going back to like if there was an emergency, where would the access be from? Would it be from Chapel Road, or would, like, let's say for instance there was a fire, how would they bring water from Main Street up a 1,400-foot driveway to put out a fire? Would they have to go through my yard to, like, I guess I would have to see where, like, the emergency vehicles would come in. Would it be through that 1,400-foot driveway, or I guess that's one of my concerns.
It would be through the driveway.
That far, how I know we just recently had a experience locally where water, when there was a fire, a local farm, it was not adequate. Like, is that going to be another scenario? What would that be feasible for firefighters to be able to put out an emergency?
so maybe the applicant would like to comment on how the emergency vehicles will come in?
For the record, Jay Ursary, J.R. Russo and Associates. In terms of the interior lots, emergency vehicles would access using the driveway from Main Street. The 18-foot driveway is based on your specifications in your public improvements manual. It's been reviewed by the fire marshal. He's comfortable with it. The turnarounds are there, and the emergency vehicles would access through there. They're not going to access off of Chapel Road.
Thank
Very
you.
similar to, again, what you had approved over on Strong Road. Same thing.
Okay, I'm going to try to move the hearing along. Sir?
Just one more, if that's okay. One more concern. I have so if I point, so about right here, I have a tree stand where I hunt during deer season, which is okay under how things are right now. With a home right here, I will not be 500 feet away. I would not be able to hunt anymore on my property as well. Which I don't know if that's a personal. If I cannot bring that up, this is my first time at a hearing like this. So if that's not appropriate to bring up, I apologize. But that's just another concern that I have as well.
Okay.
I obviously want to be safe when.
Thank you.
Okay.
I guess I just would comment that the plan of conservation and development is not a requirement. It's not a regulation. It's what we aspire to do, but if property owners don't want to conform to something that's desired in the plan of conservation and development, they still own the property and would have the right to do whatever is allowed, at least on their property. Did I get that right, Michelle?
I guess the only comment I would make is if this were a bigger property and your plan of conservation development calls out at being a priority piece, that's when you would have the option of an open space subdivision. this property doesn't rise to the level of acreage that would be an open space subdivision. So that kind of trigger does not come into play with this particular property.
Thank you. I guess we had a concern about erosion and the effect on the roots of some trees by building that road. I guess I'd offer you the opportunity first to comment.
Again, for the record, Jay Ursary, J.R. Russo. I think the homeowner that talked about tree roots and erosion was the house directly to the right of Lot 1 on Chapel Road. There are very few trees on Lot 1. It's basically overgrown with brush and small saplings and so forth. So there's no big trees that are going to be cut that are going to affect any root systems or anything on the trees at their lot. There will be no erosion. It's relatively flat on this property where the house is being located. And the property to the east, where the neighbor was speaking, is actually higher than our piece. It's about 5 to 6 feet higher in elevation than this piece. So there's nothing we're going to do that's going to affect them in terms of erosion or water or flooding or anything of that nature.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, is there anyone else who has a comment or?
Well, I think I need some clarification because I don't know if the homeowner's concern was represented, and maybe I didn't understand, but the question on the easement, was that after the sale of the property, what happens to that easement? Is that going to become a dispute between the two homeowners?
Again, for the record, Jay Ursary, J.R. Russo, the easement that's in question runs with the land. It will always be there. If the land is conveyed to each one of you commissioners successively down the line, the easement stays, it doesn't go anywhere. So it runs with the land and it's there in perpetuity.
Anyone else? Commissioner Dexter?
Just a quick one. To your point, Chairman Wagner, POCD isn't in our regs. It's a document that we use for guidance. But I will remind everybody that this is a special exception review, and the criteria are. So we want to make sure we read them all, and that is part of how we would make our final decision.
So are there issues that we need to resolve in a subsequent hearing? Anybody that you need more information?
I just had one more quick
Yes,
question.
okay.
You'd mentioned the access way for fire truck is sufficient. Where would the water source be for fighting a fire in lots 2 and 3?
There is water on Main Street. There is a fire hydrant near the corner of Main and Chapel. I don't know if they would pull hose from there. Obviously, you have pumper trucks and tanker trucks, which all towns have. They would probably use those. It could come either way, so I'm not sure where the water would come from, but that would be a question, I guess, for the fire department and the fire marshal.
Okay.
If I could just address one more question,
sure.
Chair. Commissioner Dexter brought up a good point about the criteria that you have in your regulations when it comes to approving interior lots. And if you read my narrative, I went through each one of those point by point. And I think the conclusion that I came to and that our property owners agree with is that this particular development with 2 interior lots on almost 8 acres of land really has little or no effect on the neighborhood. When we look at your criteria, when we look at aesthetics and drainage and traffic impacts and driveway locations and sight lines and utilities and property values, there's no negatives here. Property values are going to increase when we build million-dollar homes on these interior lots. There is no drainage issues. The aesthetics are going to still be there. We're talking about 2 homes on almost 8 acres of property. It's not like we're taking this farmland and we're turning it into a gigantic subdivision. This is a very good use of the property, and it gives the property owners the ability to enjoy their retirement a little bit more and sell some land that's been in their family for almost 90 years. 90 years, it's a long time. They were members of this community. They own businesses in this community, and they lived here for decades. And they're just here asking to be able to be approved based on the regulations that you have in effect and based on the fact that you've approved other properties with similar type developments with interior lots.
Thank you. So commissioners, is there anything do we need to continue the public hearing, or are we satisfied?
Well, I don't know how about everybody else feels. I feel we would all feel more comfortable if maybe the fire marshal could come in and just allay our fears on that. Maybe Autumn could come in for conservation and just make sure we know there's no.
So this is subject to conservation plan approval, and it will be in front of the commission. So that is going forward at their next meeting. The fire marshal reviewed this twice. If you'd like to have him come in, we can certainly do that. We were sensitive to the fire that just occurred with this interior lot. It was certainly a point of discussion. The reason you see a pull-off halfway down the driveway is because the fire marshal required that in case that we needed to have a pull-off for traffic purposes. The hammerhead was added. Again, these were all things that the requirements out of our public improvement specs related for long interior lot driveways. Again, we'd be happy to bring him in here if you want, but he has reviewed it several times.
Okay, I'm satisfied with that, Michelle. Thank you.
So should we go ahead and close the public hearing then? Oh, Commissioner Kilburn?
Yes, on the topic of the fire department, is there fire suppression wells or support for fire equipment on Main Street where a hydrant can be brought into the property for that purpose or reason? Is that available? Just a thought.
We'd have to get back with the fire marshal and ask him. I'd have to come back to the commission with that. I don't have the answer to that tonight.
So is that enough to keep the public hearing open, or no? Okay. So we'll take a motion to close the public hearing. Okay. And,
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimously approved. And we'll move on to the next application. So we're going to have to share this microphone. Okay. So we're now going to hear application 2440P, Downey zoning text amendments. Hope I got that in the right order. Give me a second to get my paper sorted here. What happened to my amendment? It kind of looks like this if you're looking for the paper. All right. You can go ahead.
Okay. Hello, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you for having me this evening. I've been here before. I think you know my name. My name is John Swaggerty. I represent Down East LLC. We are the owners of the parcel behind the plaza at Buckland Hills. Oh, you know what? Okay. So I have a real brief deck here to explain what I'm here for this evening. We're going to have a little refresher on the property and the status of it, and we'll talk about the minor amendment that is proposed today for the overlay district that's been prepared. Oh. The property is here in red. I think people are familiar with this. It's about 57 acres. Located, of course, in the town of South Windsor, but just beyond the property line from the town of Manchester. It is directly behind the plaza at Buckland Hills Shopping Center, also located in the town of Manchester. It stretches between, and its address is 22 Wheeler Road. just a little bit of a refresher on the status of the property and the process we've been in. I didn't go into the background here about the subcommittee that has met to determine appropriate uses for the site. I sort of skipped that and went right to, in the spring of 2025, just a few months ago, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved the creation of the Buckland Gateway South Overlay Zone. That overlay zone was created, but it was not applied. It just sits right now on the code, the town code. And that zoning code allows for certain age-restricted residential uses on the property that we'll look into a little bit further. The next step in the overall process would be that we will petition the Planning and Zoning Commission to apply that zone to the parcel. We've undertaken some studies, those are under review, that will be next. That is not why I'm here this evening. Tonight I'm here to talk about a minor amendment that's been requested to that overlay zone to allow a garden-style apartment community, in addition to the carriage-style housing product type that has been originally contemplated. The reason for this is that the current text of that overlay zone is quite narrowly tailored to the carriage-style housing community. So here is a map of a plan of the parcel pursuant to our discussions with the subcommittee and the commission. The property was identified to retain about 10 acres for its existing commercial use. You see that on the lower left-hand image there. And with the rest of the parcel being eligible for that overlay zone, again, as you can see in the map, we're identifying that for an age-restricted residential community, 47 acres out of the 57. And just to provide a little bit of an illustrative look at what the property could look like, the plan here shows what that carriage house development could look like. Again, using the density that is provided into that zoning to arrive at 210 units. That arrives at 4.5 units per acre. Again, all the things that we've talked about here are still shown on the plan, the amenities, the connection to both Plaza at Buckland Hills, Evergreen Walk, open space, access, all of that was here. And this just gives a little bit of an illustration for what a garden-style apartment community could look like instead of individual homes. So obviously this retains the same number of units, so the same density on the whole property, but puts them into buildings. And in doing so, you sort of have less disturbed land, more naturally occurring open space, but still retaining sort of the amenities and the benefits of this parcel, the connections to Evergreen Walk and Plaza at Buckland Hills, amenities for your residents, and again, easy vehicular pedestrian connections to this roadway network, and then the adjacent commercial uses. And then just a real quick summary, the reason what we're here is because housing, demand for housing can change quite a lot. The market demand for that can change quite a lot. So this was a reaction to market shifts that we're hearing about. It's sort of a complicated time in real estate, macroeconomic picture right now. And we're hearing that some developers may favor this kind of development. This plan, and like we mentioned, the plan is more dense, and thus it concentrates the units into a smaller area, preserving more open space, still capturing those locational benefits of this site. And then just sort of in general, part of the application materials was a redlined version of that overlay zone text that's been delivered to you that illustrates more technically how the overlay zone is proposed to be amended in this minor way. So that was all. This is just meant to be a very minor amendment and a minor change, but I wanted to give you the full picture of what that looks like, and obviously listen to questions and everything else.
Could you, while you're here, show us the table that you changed with the various setbacks and so on? Or maybe, Josh, you could bring that up.
What's that? Oh, you talk about in the zoning. I didn't bring it.
The frontage, page 3.
I don't have one on them. You're talking about this?
Yeah. Yeah, just talk about your reasoning there.
what's that? The reasoning for the changes. Just simply to be, the end user here is not changing, right? It still is an age-restricted residential community. And the idea here, the reason for this change is just to accommodate a different way of housing that end user, whether it is in individual homes or whether those, whether this site might work better for a, sort of an apartment community.
All right, thank you. We'll now hear from town staff.
Thank you. So request for modifications to section 5.11 to allow for an apartment rental community, modify some dimensional and other requirements for garden-style apartments, and modify language of 511.8E3 to allow for other forms of heating and cooling. The applicant has provided you with a red-lined text with some changes, again, primarily substituting in for a garden-style apartment rental community where appropriate. Other changes support having a management company as part of the development. As indicated by the applicant's narrative, this is to provide some greater flexibility in the marketing opportunities for this zone when they come forward with an application on the site. Some of the bulk requirements, I think what you were talking about, Chairman Wagner, they've added bulk requirements if it were a garden-style apartment, limiting buildings to 105 units per building. My understanding, this would be buildings that are connected, would have 105 units total in them, not 105 units of a freestanding building. Other proposed changes include rear and side yard setbacks of 100 feet from the property lines, allowing up to 50 feet in height in the building, 40 feet separating distance between buildings, and a maximum of 30% impervious coverage of the residential site. Lastly, the other change is proposed to change section 511.8E3 to allow for other forms of heating and cooling to be approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. One of the Planning and Zoning's consideration when evaluating a text amendment is how the amendment fits into the goals of the Planning of Conservation and Development. As the Commission's aware, we did have a subcommittee that worked on this regulation for this area. The applicant subsequently applied and got approved the current BGOZ regulation, so this would be a change to them, again, allowing for a different form of ownership than the original approved text amendment. We did notice CROG as required with this text amendment, and for the record, I have a report September 5th, 2025, stating the staff of the Regional Planning Commission, the Capital Region Council of Governments, has reviewed this zoning referral and finds no apparent conflicts with regional plans or policies or the concerns of neighboring towns. That completes planning comments on this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any engineering comments?
There are no engineering comments for the proposed text amendments.
So now we'll listen to members of the public. Anyone who wishes to speak on this application? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to commissioners. We'll start with Commissioner Kilborn.
Yes, you had on your projector up there a couple of different views and understanding the difference between garden and carriage style. Could you pull them back up so I can comment on those, please? Mm-hmm. Now, that one is the carriage house development, which there's more buildings occupying more of the land. Mm-hmm. And that's what's already been presented, and you're looking to change it to the garden style, which would be could you go to the next one? Mm-hmm. Correct. That leaves a lot more open space, but I'm guessing that the garden style are going to be 3-story?
The garden style would likely be 3 stories. Sometimes they go up to 4.
But that leaves more open space.
Correct, yes.
Would there be plans to develop that more open space later, or would you be locked into staying with that design?
Right now, the plan that you see right there takes advantage of the maximum density that the property generates. So that's all there is today.
Okay, now, those green lines going down towards Smith Street, what are those? Is that drainage?
I'm sorry?
Is that drainage or?
No, it was just meant to illustrate pedestrian connections to adjacent roads to get to Evergreen Walk or Plaza at Buckland Hills.
Okay. Those are my only questions. Thank you.
I would just comment that with a overlay zone like this, the applicant would have to come in with a specific plan. They don't have all the details of a site plan, but you definitely would know where the buildings are going, where the roads are going, and so on, as part of approving the use of that overlay zone.
This just paints the picture with the zoning on the books of the town, and then it would be followed by a site plan application that would illustrate all of the details, both massing, planning, massing, as well as technical details, stormwater, utility consumption, things like that.
Commissioner Kupchinas?
Really not for any more of these senior living developments here. I understand our circumstances, but I don't think it's the right direction for town. But if we had to choose one, I think I'd be more in favor of the garden style with the higher density in that area there. It allows more open space for possibility of future development or retail or something moving into that area there. I think there's a lot of potential for this area. Just think somebody creative has to come in and rethink the whole thing, kind of, but that would be my take on it, which goes against everything.
Commissioner Dexter?
So we have 210 units, one garden, 210 carriage, nothing changes there. It's over 55 on both, nothing changes, right?
Acreage the same, yep.
We know from the attorney in Glastonbury there that we can have the contract that nobody under 18 lives in these. So we're trying to protect you-know-what. But all that pretty green around, because you've seen this property, it's ugly. It's all kinds of weeds, and so what are you going to do to the green? Is it going to just be lawn? Is it going to be?
Usually in a plan like this, it's about preservation of existing.
Okay.
So there would generally be, some certain enhancements, but generally there are, it may not look like much, but a lot of those trees have been around for some time.
Right.
Habitats, things like that, don't look like much, but are generally worth preserving, usually.
Right, and we could, maybe with some input from staff, do something with a meadow look and wildflowers and make it look better than it looks.
Yep.
Okay.
And that would certainly be something that would be explored in the next, next phase.
I mean, I don't personally have a problem with this. I don't need to see it all sprawled out. It goes from ownership, though, to rental. Is that also true?
It can, this is meant to be either way.
Either or, okay. You're not talking about that at this time?
Correct.
Okay, that was all.
Commissioner Dexter? Commissioner Foley?
How you doing? All right. So when it comes to the ownership versus the rental, right? I'm not a big fan of apartments in general. I'm in favor, my preference is the carriage style homes. There's like pride in ownership, the whole area. I mean, yes, you show us a lot of greenery and it's fantastic, but so many times the promises get broken. We get these beautiful, big, wide open areas, and frankly, they just go to hell. You look at back at Evergreen Walk, I remember those drawings from day one, and it was lush and beautiful, and they're going to make everything, and it just turns into growth. So, yeah, it looks great on a picture with the density and whatnot, but I'm a fan of home ownership. So that's just my opinion.
For rental units, how many total units were you talking about for the site?
There's the same number of units, 210 units for both scenarios.
And that'd be the same for the carriage house? Mm-hmm. Okay, because I'm like Commissioner Foley, I'm a big fan of the carriage house versus the rental, just for stability for a whole number of reasons, but I think it's just a better use. And like you said, the wide open land, that could become anything as time moves on. Not a big fan of the proposed change, but that's just that.
I will not touch the microphone moving forward. I think I come from an opposite point of view. I am a fan of the garden style. I'm a big fan of building vertically rather than horizontally. I think if we really care about maintaining either our town designated open space or really just space that is like underutilized or not utilized at all, that would be open space, we should consider building up instead of outward. I think this does a good job of it. And I'm also a fan of rentals as well, because the super majority of South Windsor is home ownership, and I mentioned it earlier, but when diversifying our housing stock, this is it. We need to have a good chunk of rentals along with a lot of our home ownership options. And this does a good job of that. Even though it's age restricted, I think this is a project that'll be good. And I really like having the open space part of it too, because there may be a lot of times where, let's say, a Wednesday afternoon you want to have a picnic, and you could do with that with the other project too, but you have a lot of land to work with. If you are a tenant there, or if you're an owner there, either or, you have a lot of land to work with as like recreation space, and it allows you to be creative as well as a person living there as well. So I come from that approach. I think this is, for my point of view, a very open-minded point of view here, that I think this would be a very creative project, and yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I have no questions or comments.
So I do have some questions and comments. First of all, 105 units, the diagram you show there is actually 4 buildings.
Yeah, that 105 units was just meant to be a maximum to prevent it from becoming too large. Most of the time, these kinds of products end up being, 60 to, even 60 to 70 units max per building. There's an efficiency of like corridor, length of corridors and staircases and things like that.
I mean, I guess I picture that as being just a big wall of buildings. So maybe we could talk about a smaller number of units in each building. So I want to look again at the table on page 3, section 511.4, the dimensional requirements. And then I'm looking at the diagram you're showing us that basically gives us an idea how it might look. Does that, with these new setbacks, specifically 100 feet in the rear and front and side, is that taking full advantage, or could that actually end up closer to Smith Street, closer to the homes on Smith Street?
It could move closer, but the idea was, was to keep that buffer between the community, the new construction, and the existing homes.
And we have somewhere in the regs, I think, a 200-foot border around Smith Street houses. I'm trying to remember where that is. Am I making that up? Michelle, help me.
No, I'm not finding it in here. I mean, the only thing we have is that one table. So you had 200 feet for the carriage house as a depth. I'm not finding a specific, I know we talked about it, but I'm not seeing where anything got codified is.
There was a buffer, it didn't get in the reg.
So you're saying a certain distance from Smith Street?
Yeah, I mean, we saw pictures where there were lines drawn around the houses that,
Right, just give me a second to go back through it again. Because remember, we were looking at the clubhouse as it related to the back of the shopping center, and that was only like 40 feet rather than the 50 feet. So, I mean, there weren't, I thought the setbacks that are showing up in the table were the setbacks that we were dealing with.
Would that be in the original, in the actual design zone?
Well, let me just ask you this. Is there a distance from Smith Street that you wanna, I mean, do you want us to scale off what that is and see, if it's a garden style apartment, you want a certain distance from Smith Street? Is that what you're getting at?
I mean, I think we actually need, because these are tall, these are like 4-story buildings that we're allowing here. If we
Correct.
approve this, so we definitely want a bigger distance from the houses on Smith Street.
Check at distance.
No. But we can look into it, certainly.
Okay. Just for everyone, remind all the commissioners that we're now talking about a 4-story building
Maximum.
with a height of 50 feet, as opposed to 3-story buildings in the carriage house design. So, so one other thing is there's no mention here of parking. Other developments similar to this have at least some amount of garage or covered parking. Would you object to adding a requirement for, say, 25% covered parking?
25%, yeah, like in a standalone, sort of standalone covered parking bay. Yeah, that's fine.
I'm sorry, what percent did we say, 25?
25?
So what I would suggest is under the parking section, which is 511.6, which is site design requirements, parking, and the first area there, it talks about having carports or garages. You could add a statement that garden-style developments require 25% enclosed parking.
Okay. Yeah, enclosed, I like that, because they could actually put it in one of the buildings, or
It leaves it flexible on how
or
they
put
want to
it
enclose it.
outside in separate structures, yeah. So let's see, there's one other section on page 9. Heat pumps, the preferred form of heating and cooling, however, other forms may be approved by the commission. Do we need to have a basis for that decision, or?
I talked to our chief building official about it, and he said that, at the time of the actual building permit would be when they would be defining what kind of heat, and it would have to just meet code. So I don't really know what is driving the request, and maybe you can add to it, John, what's driving it. He just mentioned that you might have different things outside of the building, depending on what type of heating is used, whether there'd be any kind of units outside of the building. That might be a difference that you see depending on the choice made, but I'm not really quite sure what's driving the request.
It was just meant to be flexible, for those kinds of purposes.
So, I mean, would this come under, I mean, they could lead to some accessory structures like typical air conditioning things.
Correct, and you might want some screening of it or that kind of thing if you know what to expect with it.
I mean, is that something that we can leave to be covered when the actual application comes in?
I think since you're putting in your regulations to do something different would require an action by you, I think you would want information about it at the time of an application, so yes.
Okay, so what would you add to this paragraph?
I wouldn't necessarily add to it, but what I would expect at the time of an application that the applicant addresses it, right?
Okay.
If they're either doing it, or if they're not, they're requesting you to approve something different.
Okay. So I think I heard some concerns about the rental aspect. The other choice would be condominiums. Do commissioners want to separate that out as a separate issue, or would you be able to make condominiums work? This thing only works when you touch it.
Again, the idea was to be flexible. This kind of product type typically would go with a rental product, which would, again, offer flexibility but still provide the sort of same, to the same servicing the same end user, just in a different fashion.
If we look at the impact on the people on Smith Street, would you comment on that? the residents on Smith Street, this versus the thing that we've already approved, the carriage house approach?
Well, again, if you're on Smith Street, then, you know, what you have here is a community that is more dense and can be placed further away from your home, which I think is, you know, in a nutshell, you know, again, preserving more open space, disturbing less of that land. That's, you know, that's the primary difference, I think.
Okay, because I think our initial reaction was that this was beneficial to those residents on Smith Street. However, we've got to do something about the setbacks if you know, we're going to come to that conclusion. That's a nice picture, but, you know, what's the actual?
Yeah, that's
If
totally
you're,
fine.
if you're looking for that, I mean, I'll be glad I can go upstairs and measure something off of a plan up there, and if you're looking to add a measurement, we could do that if you choose to act on it later on, knowing we're looking to add a measurement from Smith Street.
Yeah, no problem.
I mean, maybe if we're
It is on for action later on. if you
we're
want.
dealing with that, maybe we need to continue the hearing, or
You don't necessarily have to continue hearing. If you direct me to get that measurement for you, I can report it back to you during your meeting.
okay.
So you're directing me to get that measurement, and I'll give it to you in your work session. Does that sound like a?
So, commissioners, anything else? Yes.
The drawing shows a lot of open space, but one of the issues brought up was parking. Would parking be on the perimeter outside all the units, or would it be between them? I was trying to get a picture of.
The plan you see here, the gray around the yellow, is the parking for the buildings, the surface parking.
So parking is on the exterior perimeter of the buildings?
Perimeter of the buildings, correct.
Okay.
Keep in mind that this is just hypothetical.
Yeah.
The actual plan they come in with could be very different, as long as it conforms to what we say here. So we, or whoever is serving on this commission at the time, would discuss the parking in more detail. They would have to come in with a site plan that's not as detailed as an actual site plan, but they have to come in with a plan, and that would include where the parking and the roadways are. So the commission would be able to review it at that time. Yes.
I have a quick question. So what is the driver? So we approved the carriage style house, right? What is the driver for you to come before us with this apartment style? What's the driver? Why did you do this?
Flexibility.
What's that?
Flexibility. We are hearing, you know, from our potential partners, you know, that would be to construct, right, to go into the ground. We're hearing from some that this product type might be favored. And when you're talking about a, you know, sort of a same number of units, same end user, age restricted, it, you know, it feels like it was and being able to mitigate things like any height that, you know, any additional height, it feels like a sort of a similar product that can be a different, you know, that the market may be in favor of as market conditions change.
But the market changed that quickly from what you brought to us.
Mm-hmm. And remember that
within a matter of 2 weeks, the whole world changed. Like
things, and remember that we've been talking about this, you know.
It's a lot less site work, it's a lot less infrastructure, it's more money in your pocket.
Well, also remember that, you know, when we originally proposed the carriage house plan, that now goes back almost 2 years. So a lot has happened in that 2 years.
But the plan, after you got done working with the subcommittee, that wasn't 2 years, that was only months ago. So,
yeah,
the world hasn't changed that much.
Well, we had started with the plan that was sort of kicking around before that, but yeah, we can.
Any other comments or questions from the commission? So we can deal with the open questions.
Yeah, I'll
as
get
part
a
of our
measurement from Smith Street.
So we can close this hearing now?
Yes.
Yeah. You think, anybody, any other reason to keep this open? Okay, motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. We have it on the agenda later to decide on this, but we will not do that today.
Thank you.
All right. So the next application is PZC-sponsored amendment for modifications related to two-year temporary and conditional permits, their renewal, and major home occupations to allow staff reviews or staff renewal at the direction of the commission. And I just let our Director of Planning.
Sure, I'll give you a brief report on that. So this is a request to change how we do the renewal process for both your temporary and conditional permits and your 5-year home occupations. As you commission is aware, and anybody that's been on the commission more than a couple years knows that our temporary and conditional permits, a lot of them have been around for a lot of years, and I even want to say decades, with a couple of them there. And they typically get approved without any event, and we usually have no public concerns expressed. That is somewhat similar with our major home occupations, although we haven't seen quite as many, but every 5 years they're required to come back in. If this text amendment were approved, the applicant would still be required to request a renewal. However, it would be at the commission's discretion on whether or not you wanted them to actually come in front of the commission with their request or defer it to staff. What I would say is staff usually has a pulse on whether or not we have an issue with an application, if it's been people complaining about it or anything like that. So if there's one like that, we're going to defer it to you. We're not going to take that on. We'll have it come back in front of you. And again, the commission would always have the ability, you'll know when it gets officially received to say, you know what, we'd have this one come in front of you. So you won't lose the ability to see them. This would just give the applicants a little bit more flexibility and less stress having to come back in front of you every 2 or 5 years. We did send this off to CROG as required, and I do have a report September 5th stating that the Capital Region Council of Governments has reviewed the zoning referral, finds no apparent conflict with regional plans and policies or the concerns of neighboring towns. As with every text amendment, if the commission does approve it, they should find a finding that it's consistent with the plan of conservation development. And I would just say that we're always looking at ways to improve our processes as identified in our plan.
Thank you. Any comments from the public? Seeing and hearing none. Commissioners, anybody from the commission wish to speak on this? Yes, Commissioner Cavanero.
I do like this sponsored amendment. I think it removes a good chunk, I shouldn't say good chunk, but it removes some red tape and it does add some flexibility. And at the end of the day, I don't think we should be in the business of trying to block every single thing. It makes it easier to come forward to our commission. And so at the end of the day, I don't see any reason to block this at this time.
Anyone else? Motion to close the public hearing? Second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? The hearing is closed unanimously. Okay. Next one is PZC-sponsored amendment related to solar and battery. I won't read the whole thing. And I did prepare some slides to go through, but you can also open up the regulation that you have. So go ahead to the next slide. So we currently have small scale versus large scale solar in our regs. The small scale requires a minimum zoning review. It's for accessory use, it requires a site plan, and it's a typical house or business rooftop or even a backyard. Large scale systems may need a special exception due to the visual impact. They have inverter and transporter noise impact and emergency access issues. Next slide, please. Josh? Okay. So, in the current definitions, the energy is used on site on an annual basis at least, and the energy is, in a large scale, the energy is sold. There are many other things that go on, so those definitions really don't deal with what's actually happening. Plus, small-scale systems can be pretty big. The best example is a solar farm that I happen to feel very positive about, but it's the solar farm behind New Way Tobacco. It's actually, I think, 6 or 7 acres, so it's pretty big. The commissioners, I think, in asking us to draft this change, were concerned that that same site where next to a residential neighborhood might be an issue we'd want to review. But right now, anywhere that is in an industrial zone, that would be approved by, just based on the site plan. And there's also non-residential uses. You can have the schools. We do have actually a church that has a solar farm behind it. Large-scale systems might actually have minimal impact, so we may not want to drag out the entire review process. So if it's in an industrial commercial zone, away from residential, if it's on a warehouse rooftop, parking lot canopy systems, all these things. And there was originally an issue of being the primary use, but we actually saw a solar farm come in that used part of the land on a farm, and that really was not a primary use, but it was something that we really did a very thorough review of. So moving on. So we have new definitions that define different kinds. We have different accessory uses. There's ground, rooftop, and canopy uses are defined. Even single device systems like a traffic control or some other sign that has lighting. You see these stop signs that blink that might have solar power. So that is basically said that's going to be regulated by other regulations. We're not going to deal with that. Small systems must have a small impact, small scale systems. So we like the energy to be used on site on an annual basis. They're ground mounted in less than 1 acre, which is roughly 200 kilowatts. And the roof mounted would only be limited by the size of the roof. So if someone wants to put solar on a warehouse roof, that would be considered a small scale system. Large scale systems, anything else. And there'd be minimal changes in that reg, but it also allows for battery energy storage systems on the site. Next slide. So we have some new design standards, or modified. We have new text for equipment noise. We want to make sure that the noise meets the basic noise regulations. And there's something called tones, which are kind of like the sound of a flute playing in the background. They have to be a lower level than the broad spectrum noise. So if you imagine hearing a fan blowing, and if there's some kind of a whistle noise in there, that would be a tone, and that would have to be at a lower decibel level. And we require the design to be very specific about the equipment choices and the equipment locations, which basically affects the noise performance of the installation. We've got requirements for emergency access, coverage. The two kinds of coverage here. Lot coverage, the solar is not included in the lot coverage. And in the impervious coverage, only the footings would be included. And there's a new text that the staff added related to vegetation. So the setbacks are different now. So if it's inside whatever is allowing a large-scale system, the normal would be 10 feet front yard. But if it's across or abutting a residential district, we've made that 50 feet. Similarly, the side and rear yards would be 100 feet. if you're near residential. Next slide. Okay, so then we asked, now we're hearing a lot about these battery systems coming in. They're becoming more and more popular in conjunction with solar, but they're not just used for solar. They may just be there for other purposes like energy arbitrage, peak shaving, and other uses that are listed there. So it's a type of energy storage that uses a group of batteries that's connected to the electric power network, and they store energy. Next slide. These are pictures. The one on the left is what you might see in your garage. There's a power wall at the bottom there. The one on the right is what you might see outside of a school, or we actually looked at something similar for the sewer system. So we basically allowed for installation within the structure, external as an accessory structure, utility grade systems, and they may or may not be in conjunction with small or large solar. The issue with batteries is that they are noisier than solar, and the noise occurs for 24 hours. The extra noise comes from the cooling system, so you have to be just aware of that. The criteria are the same. You have to meet the noise regulations. There are mitigation options that may be required, including visual and noise screening. The visual impact is addressed in the reg there. And there is a fear of fires from these things that I think our belief is, certainly my belief, is that the early history has been dealt with, so we haven't had a recent spate of fires coming from these things. But we still require emergency access to that. Next slide. So there's a new section 721A. It's loosely based on the solar regulation. I think I've sort of said all of this. The setbacks are the same as we saw before for the large-scale solar. Fire marshal approval, and it's a special exception is required if it's larger than 25 square feet. So if you look in the use tables, which I didn't cover in the slides, they indicate that it's either a site plan or in several places, or a special exception, and it refers you to the text as to whether or not a special exception is required. Next. And there's also decommissioning and abandonment rules. Basically, you have to remove everything, reestablish the vegetation or stabilize it. There's disposal and the issue of a bond. I believe that's it, right? Yeah. Okay. So from our staff.
Thank you, Chairman. So I'm just going to briefly touch on, I did provide you a report, which is a lot of what Steve just went over, so I'm not going to read it entirely into the record. But I just want to bring to your attention that you did receive a red line document. This is the same red line document we reviewed at a draft meeting a couple meetings ago. You'll notice there's some green text in there, some highlighted yellow. Those are some additions based on some staff input from the fire marshal, from the zoning enforcement officer, so you'll find some slight tweaks to the language that we had. So as indicated, this is kind of a rewrite of our solar regulations a little bit. We have a bunch of new definitions or reworked definitions to bring to your attention. We're defining small and large solar systems differently than we were defining them previously. The process for small-scale energy systems requires minimum zoning review, accessory uses in single-family zones at the staff level. That's similar to how we've been doing it before. Larger systems would go to the commission for special exception approval. The setbacks haven't changed so much, but we did eliminate a maximum size of 7 acres that you would need for a large solar system, recognizing that smaller projects could be considered large solar systems based on their use. We did add in some more details related to the emergency access, to the vegetation management. We added some more information related to the decommissioning plan and the bonding requirements for that. And then there is the addition of the BESS, the BESS section, 721A. That is being modeled after your large solar section for the most part. That would allow for battery installation both inside structures according to building codes and outside structures as an accessory use. In the residential use table, once it's over 25 square feet, an accessory structure would become a special exception permit, and we do have some criteria under which it would be evaluated. Again, so we try to put in safeguards, again, for the review process of a large-scale battery system, modeling it similarly on the solar. I would mention, as far as the bulk requirements, some of these battery systems typically are on pavement or on some kind of hard surface, so things like impervious coverage does matter. So we would recommend that we go back to the same impervious coverage we have in any other industrial commercial site of the 65%, lot coverage, things like that. So those have been introduced into the regulations as well. As I stated before, with other text amendments, we look at our plan of conservation development to see how it aligns with what we're proposing. And the section in the regulations utility section of the 2024 Plan of Conservation Development states provides utilities to support desired development patterns. And under one of our objectives, it says, ensure other utilities meet community needs, support a range of energy sources that are cost-effective and meet community and business needs, recognizing the gradual transition towards more sustainable energy sources. This amendment was submitted to CROG as required, and I got the same report back as the other ones, that they find no conflict with any regional policies.
Thank you. All right, now, is there any comment from engineering?
My only question is regarding the fire marshal and his responsibilities regarding the battery energy storage system. Is he required to review all the site plans with any BES system that is provided as a site plan approval?
We would require that as part of our process to provide feedback. Yeah. And we will bring the fire department as necessary to look at it as well.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any members of the public wish to comment on this? Yes, sir.
Now that it's
Try
on,
again.
can you hear me okay? All right. Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ryan Diedrichson. I am the Community Engagement Manager for a company called Ecoplexus. We are a US-based developer of grid support infrastructure like energy storage systems, solar facilities. I think I can keep this brief. I really just came here to listen today to the conversation, but I did just want to say that I was excited and appreciative of the effort that's gone into drafting an ordinance specifically for energy storage systems. I think being proactive in that measure is pretty beneficial, not just for somebody who might want to develop one, say, utility scale, but also those that might be accessory in smaller capacities, commercial businesses, things of that nature. I think it's also a lot easier for those that are going to be permitting and reviewing these things if there's a clear framework and expectations. It's not necessarily a new concept, energy storage, but I think, like you mentioned, it's definitely gaining in popularity because of its need across the nation. So there's a lot of communities that aren't necessarily being as proactive on that, and that's not all too surprising. So I just wanted to reiterate that I was appreciative of the fact that when I read through it, it really did seem like it was thoughtful and on par with some other communities that we've worked with before. I think the only things that I saw personally, maybe just kind of reiterating or maybe clarifying rather in the height section, maybe back to the utilities section, just because sometimes there are those ancillary components for energy storage systems that aren't just the containers. So I think there is the height maximum of 12 feet, for example, and that doesn't seem to be an issue for the containers, but sometimes there might be a smaller footprint switchgear, switchyard, that type of thing, where those might be a little bit taller. And I think that was covered. It's just, sorry, but just I guess, a nitpicky thing of mine. I wasn't going to say anything. I just want to listen to the conversation tonight, but I got my time. So I'll take advantage of it, but that's really it. I'm looking forward to the rest of the conversation. I'm here for probably the rest of the meeting. If there's any questions, please feel free to pick me out of my seat. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing up the switchgear issue. Anybody else? Okay, so I've seen a lot of switch yards in my career, and a lot of them are a lot taller than 25 feet or 12 feet, but what do you think we should say in regard to switching gear or whatever? Can it all be handled within the 12 feet, or do we need some exception there? Yeah.
Oh, you know, I don't know if I could throw out a number personally. Off the top of my head, I do know that they're typically taller than 12 feet. I could do some quick research and see. I think it really does depend on the project, if there even is going to be one necessary, for example. But I would just kind of throw an arbitrary number out, 25 feet, something of the like. But I'm not sure what might best suit the community for you guys.
I mean, would we, I don't know, Michelle, we have limits for light poles and things.
Yeah, I mean,
Trouble visualizing the actual switchgear that you would need, since it's sort of built into, isn't it built into the units, or?
It's typically, if I can speak, it's typically kind of a separate footprint from the rest of what we would call the battery containers. Mm-hmm. You know, it would be, if you've seen a substation around it, it would likely be a smaller version of that to some extent. I think it was accommodated for under utility connection, because it does kind of talk about switch gears and other utility interconnection components being underground.
What section are you reading?
It was 7.21, A10 under design standards, section C.
We also have it under height, too. We have it straight up under height, 12 feet. I said under the height, we have it as
12 feet there, yeah. Again, I just wanted to bring it up just to kind of, clarification's always great, so I think it could be squashed during an application process, for example, but.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, we heard no one else from the public. Any comments or questions?
Yes.
Mr. Dexter? Oh, Commissioner Viteri?
Not to let the lawyer in me become crazy, but when you go to 721.8, and it was also mentioned in one of the slides, if you have a side yard, it's contingent on abutting a residential district. In a rear yard, it's abutting a residential district. In the front yard, it's across from a residential district. What's the definition of across from?
It probably should say abutting. It's assuming there's a road, right? So when we look at zoning, we don't recognize a road. So we just should say abutting a residential district. It just, you know, people, when they think of abutting, they think it's got to be touching, right? But if it's RR here and across the road, it's industrial. In my mind, that's abutting, but some people don't think that way. So that's why you say across. So we could say abutting and or across the road, maybe to clarify it.
Okay, so if it's across the road and there's an open lot before you come to residential, then that's not considered across from, right?
You know, zones come up right next to each other,
Right.
right? But people don't, when they come up against the road, they don't know how to handle that, whether, so that's where I think this comes from.
Okay.
So we can say adjacent or and or across from, to make it clear.
Just more semantics thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I
Corner lots,
understand it.
I mean, corner lots basically have two fronts, right?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Motion to close?
I gotta ask, and this is difficult for me because I'm not a nuclear scientist like you, Steve. But this BESS, this energy storage, in the residential or series of residential zones, we are allowing what? Besides the garage where they plug in their vehicle? What else are we allowing?
So if there's a school or church, for
Yes.
example,
Yeah,
they would be allowed to install one of these systems. And in fact, we've looked at that for the middle school.
okay.
So we want to make sure that if they do decide, if say the middle school decides to install one of these battery systems, which I think came very close to happening, and then there were issues negotiating the price or whatever,
Okay.
that this is something we can live with.
I'll be a little more specific. I'm on Old Main Street, and there's lot 2 and 3. That's residential property, right? That's zoned residential. Could that be built there? A battery storage field or array or whatever they call it. Are we allowing that?
I guess the question is, do we want to see them as primary uses in our residential zone? And I think what you're saying is you don't. You want to see them as an accessory use in a residential zone.
That's the wording, Michelle? Yes.
So
That's
like
what
a
I'd like to see.
school, it would be an accessory use to a school use. It would not be a lot that gets turned into a battery in a
Right.
residential zone.
Yes. Is that, if you have that here, I'm happy. I don't know.
Well, basically what we have is it sends you to section 7, so we got to make sure section 7 is clear enough that the only primary use of BESS would be in a non-residential zone. Allowed in a non-residential zone.
That's just me. I don't know how the rest
I
of the
think
commissioners
it's a
feel.
good question.
Good, yay.
Not even nuclear.
Who would have thought it? And then I'm just curious for my own sake, how does all this connect to the grid? Like, just underground cables, or where would it connect at a big, on Barber Hill Road there, that big, whatever it is there? What is it?
So, first of all, if you have it in your house, you're actually connected to the grid there by going through a meter.
Correct,
Okay. The equipment that connects to the grid in a solar farm or a battery farm is just bigger, and it tends to go straight up to a telephone pole of some sort. It's
so-
what they call three-phase, there's more wires, but it's just a bigger version of what you have on your house.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
So to clarify that in the use table, under the Article 7 special regulations, I could note that only allowed as an accessory use in the residential zone.
I like that, yeah. Okay, anything else? Motion,
Move to close the public hearing.
all in favor? Aye. Public hearing is closed. Where are we on my agenda? So we have completed our public hearings, so we're now starting our regular meeting, and we are seating Commissioner Kilborn for Commissioner Bernstein, Commissioner Kachunas for Commissioner Bugansky. We don't have enough alternates to cover Commissioner Foley when he recuses himself. So all of the alternates here are seated for this and can participate and vote in all of these issues. So let's see, the minutes. I had one minor change to the minutes that I think Josh has probably already taken care of.
So on the first page of the minutes, the paragraph that begins over multiple decades, the last sentence of that paragraph now reads, Damali noted that the A30 zone allows lots a minimum of 30,000 square feet and 120 feet wide, enabling side-load garages. The RR zone allows lots a minimum of 175 feet wide. It was a correction from...
Where it said up to before, now it says a minimum of. Yeah. By consensus, we can approve these if there are no other comments? Okay, the minutes are approved. Okay. Public participation. We're now would welcome comments from the public on any item that's not on the agenda. Hearing and seeing none. Go on to new business. Application 2536P, Ucello Fine Homes. Anyone here?
Good evening.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is already, no, this is new. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. For the record, Jay Ursary, J.R. Russo here representing Ucello Fine Homes. Nick Ucello, the builder, is here. The property owners, Mr. and Mrs. LaRocca, are also here. And this is an application and an interior lot application. Apparently that's all we do at J.R. Russo, but we do a few of them. This is one that was before you twice a few years back. And some of you, I'm sure, were here. I'm not sure if everybody was. Yeah, Mr. Foley, I think, was here. Mr. Wagner, maybe. Commissioner Dexter, maybe. But it goes way back, and it's on Main Street, on the east side of Main Street, north of the Casarinos, just south of Oxbow Lane. The original property owners, Zagorski, I think they were relatives of the Polos. This is a brick house, and we all know where the bricks came from. They owned the entire parcel. I think it was probably maybe 4 or 5 acres in size, and they decided to carve out a rear lot, which goes back to 2008, and it was approved by this commission. At that point in time, the driveway access was on the north side, as is what you see in front of you tonight. Following that, they sold the lot. They sold it to some folks who own the property as well in the front, the brick house, and they decided, the Nearys, that they wanted to move the driveway to the other side, to the south side. We came back to you again with a revised plan, another interior lot application. You approved it, so you approved 2 of these, one with the driveway north, one with the driveway south. Now we're back to the north side, which was the one that was approved the first time, back in 2008. So this is just a little site plan modification, essentially. The rear lot really is already approved. This has a different house location than what was approved originally. A little bit different change in the landscaping in terms of the access area coming in from Main Street. And we went through this with staff. There were some comments. We had some comments from engineering. We had some comments from planning. Those have all been addressed and incorporated into this plan set. And we're hopeful that tonight that you will be comfortable with it and able to approve the site plan modification, because we know the property owners are very anxious to get started, because there was a few speed bumps in the process, had nothing to do with the town, but in getting us to this point, and they've been waiting very anxiously to get their home started. So that's just a basic overview of what we're asking for here in terms of a minor modification for house location and north side driveway access. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right. Is there anyone else from the applicant side that wants to speak? Okay. Commissioners, any comments or concerns or questions?
You want to go to the, I'm just looking at the drawing here, and, I mean, the overlay. It has it on the side.
Yeah, it's now going to be located on the north side, on the Oxbow Lane side of the property.
So this is the current situation.
Do you want me to read the report? Planning report?
Yeah. Oh,
It
yeah.
might give
Sorry.
some,
That's
that's
a-
okay.
yes,
I just
please.
didn't know, might give some clarification.
Go ahead, yes.
So this is a request, as Jay stated, this is a request for a site plan modification to relocate house and access drive for an approved interior lot located at 1580 Main Street in the A40 zone. The majority of the existing property is an open lot with scrub vegetation and a mid-successional woodland on the northeast and southeast property lines. This interior lot, as Jay discussed, was originally created by the approval of a re-subdivision and special exception granted in 2008. After that approval, a new site plan was approved in 2010, showing the house and access further south on the property. The approval was the subject of a zoning violation, tree cutting resulting in tree planting plan being approved and implemented in 2011, sort of like a reestablishment plan. Today, this site plan modification has adjusted the location of the proposed home and access back to the original 2008 proposal due to a discrepancy over the differing location of the access areas between the deeds of 1576 Main Street and the subject property, again, as Jay discussed. So this application, it appears to comply with other zoning regulations and our interior regulations. Lot coverage and yard setbacks all appear to comply. The lot is served by a well, will be served by a well in town sewers, approval which is subject to WPCA. There are regulated wetlands on site. No work is proposed in the upland review area, and thus an application to the Inland Wetlands Agency and Conservation Commission is not required. The fire marshal has reviewed the plan and noted that per our town public improvement specs, a turnaround is required for driveways over 300 feet in length for the maneuvering of fire apparatuses. As Jay noted, so I had some comments to the applicant suggesting the replanting of the slope north by northeast of the proposed home. This change was shown on the plans. After conducted a site visit with the homeowner, or the property owner rather, there appeared to be sufficient vegetation that, if preserved during construction, may actually not warrant replanting. So for now, I recommended that the plans show the proposed planting. In the event that existing trees can be saved, it would be as simple as a change order at the end of construction, just rectifying that. There, at one point, appeared to be some work in the town right-of-way for tree clearing, which needs to be coordinated with our tree warden. And this property actually does fall within the town historic district, and the applicant shall coordinate with the Historic District Commission regarding the need for a certificate of appropriateness. And that would conclude planning comments. Turn it over to engineering.
Engineering only had a couple comments that were addressed during this latest set of drawings provided to you tonight. Regarding the sanitary sewer connection on the main road here, I just provided a comment regarding maintenance and protection of traffic will be required with flaggers, as well as providing boilerplates for traffic control based on the latest pedestrian accidents we've seen in the area, making sure that's controlled, as well as providing a time to go out to meet with the utility companies for the utility connections on the utility pole to the north side of the construction entrance there. There's a pole where they're putting in underground electric work. So the town will be coordinating with the contractor as well as the developer for that as well, which has all been addressed. So there's no further comments besides that.
Thank you. Now we can hear from commissioners. Commissioner Cavagnaro?
I have no comment.
No comments.
No comment.
No comment.
From what I understand, this was approved a long time ago, and it kind of changed places, and now we're back to a place that was approved in the past? Just trying to follow the flow.
Yes, it was approved back in 2008, had a location. The location now is generally back to that original location, so, but it is coming in for a minor site plan modification, or a site plan modification.
Okay, now, item 1, it says to relocate the house. So the house is built at some place, and they're going to move it?
I think it's, yeah, relocation of the house would be, it was relocated from original plans. So there's nothing out there now. It's just a...
So they're building it?
Correct.
When I hear the term relocate house, I think it's going to go on wheels and...
Understood.
Okay.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Got it, thank you.
Not the case, yep.
A motion would be in order? On the back of their comments?
I make a motion to approve application 25-36P, Ucello Fine Homes. This is a site plan modification to relocate the house and access drive for an approved interior lot located at 1580 Main Street, A40 zone. We have standard approval conditions 1 and 2. Number 3 is a landscape bond. The amount of $5,000 is required, must be submitted prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy if work is not completed. And then we continue with standard approval down to number 11 that says the final plan shall be revised to comply with the Town of South Windsor Public Improvement Specifications, Section 1.7.5.2, related to the design of the rear lot driveways. Per the South Windsor Fire Marshal, the driveway shall be paved.
We don't need public comments.
Excuse me, Chairman, these folks here are the abutter, and they wanted to know if they could say something on the project. I think we talked in the past, since they had a long history, you were going to let them. I apologize, I didn't realize.
Why don't we get a second on this motion?
You did have a second, so,
Okay.
yeah, I apologize.
If there's other discussion, we'll recognize a member of the public.
Pardon me for not being aware of the protocols. My name is Nathaniel Mays. I'm here with my wife, Norma. We've been in town for 31 years. We've been at 30 Oxbow Lane for the past 23 years. We've lived through our previous neighbor and his landscaping, and we are dealing with the ramifications of his landscaping now. I've had trees as a result of the trees that he cut unapproved that are continuing to fall on my property because their root systems have been disturbed. And so I'm not concerned about my new neighbor building a home. I welcome that. But I am concerned about the possible continued impact on root structures that are impacting my lawn right now in the back of my home. So I don't know how that can be addressed, but I do know that there's a tree falling as we speak that has been impacted by the previous owner and their landscaping. And that's something that I'm seriously concerned about. The other thing that I do have, and I wanted to put on the record, was with regard to the access. Don't have a problem with it going back to the original access as it was before. I did have landscaping done, but I also had someone come out to do, put pins in the ground for me. I had the original person who did the site for the Polas, Joseph Buffard, I don't know if you know that name, who came out and did I'm not recalling the wording right now, surveying, pardon me, for us. And so from the back of the property off of Oxbow Lane all the way to Main Street, there are pins in the ground, 6 pins 90 feet apart that demarks the property line. My only sensitivity here is that I want to make certain that what I understand the property line to be is the same of what our new owners understand the property line to be. The person who owns the front part of the property did not have that understanding, and we had to show him where the pins were in the ground so that he understood what his property line was over against mine. So no objection to the new home coming. We welcome that, but I am concerned about the impact on my property with regards to the tree roots that have been disturbed already and are continuing to fall towards my property, and also making certain that whenever any kind of work gets done on this new access, that this work is done from the appropriate pins that we've had in the ground from the surveys that we've paid to have done. Thank you.
So I think probably it's not our role to challenge or acknowledge the pins. That would be something to discuss. But I do think the issue of the potential damage to the trees, maybe our town engineer could comment on that, or Mr. Rousseau.
So which property is on here? Is
Yeah,
it?
I'm Oxbow Lane. the
Oh,
corner
you're
of
on,
Oxbow-
okay.
Oxbow Lane, 30 Oxbow
So
Lane.
you're over here. Okay, understood.
So is he the long corner lot, or is he the next lot?
That's me, the corner lot.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure. So, so I guess the concern is that right now what's there is failing. That's
They've been failing since the damage was done years ago.
sure. Yeah, understood. So I believe possibly there are construction measures that can be implemented. Fencing to keep equipment off of critical root zones to prevent crushing of fibrous roots and anchoring roots. That is something that we could recommend be shown on the plans.
So, is there a condition we can add to this motion that would implement that? Well, we're talking about here. We're talking about this, we're talking about basically the northern border of the driveway. Mhm.
Yeah, so we could put some language in there for an approval condition, and I can have that written up. You can just read it as part of the approval.
Can you read what you got?
Yeah. So this would say construction fence construction fence shall be added to the northern property line to prevent any damage to critical root zones of trees.
So do we want it at the property line or somewhere set in?
It would be, I mean, it wouldn't, I suppose along the property line. I mean, it would be probably about, as close as you could get. They still do need to work in there to get the driveway in there.
Maybe we could put something in just saying, you don't want to hire an arborist, but, to stay within the drip line of existing trees on the abutters.
Yeah, so just try to, so installing construction fence or some kind of tree protection measure along the drip line of existing trees to prevent further damage or any damage.
Do you want to read your new words?
Yeah. Let me just write it down.
Thank you.
All right, so he's saying install construction fence along the northerly property line to protect the drip line of existing trees. Yeah, you want to say on neighboring property.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. So do our two commissioners who moved and seconded this motion accept?
We accept that.
Okay, it's accepted. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, now we have So now we have application 2537P, Casarino re-subdivision. And somewhere you have the motion. No, it's 10 is 10 and 10:30 for public hearings, but 10. All right, does someone know? We could either have a little discussion or whatever, turn your light on if you have a comment to make on this. Okay, this is Casarino, the subdivision into 3 lots that we saw on Main Street and Chapel Road. I'm sorry, turn your light on.
There's nothing more from the Conservation Commission or anything on the lots there trying to go in. So, yeah.
I guess I don't understand the question.
Well, we closed the public hearing, so we can't really. I'm going to just make a comment because I have been around a long time and I was part of the Main Street Preservation Committee. If I said it right, Michelle, was that 10 years ago? And, you know, at the time, we identified a lot of subdivision that could happen on these very thin parcels of land that kind of go perpendicular back from the main roads. And at that time, there were projections of over 200 homes that could be built in the Main Street area. So I do recognize Mr. Casarino's minimizing that instead of going more than 2 or 3, you know, to go 4 or 5 is a help. We all love Main Street. We all love that feeling there. I'm torn on this one. It meets our regulations. We've approved these types of things before. I mean, if we feel we don't have a wet problem, you know, inlands, wetlands problem, I got to take your word on that. So I feel like this commissioner would be voting in favor.
Any other discussion? Okay, in which case, someone should make a motion.
So before, I'd just like to add, there is an approval condition that we want to add to that. It's just for, it's for the landscaping bond. So there is, we did omit just standard language for a landscaping bond in the amount of $5,000 for this one. I do have that, I have that written up too. So I just wanted to.
For Ucello.
This is for 50 Chapel. That's what we're talking about, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So so this one is for 50 Chapel.
Okay. I'm confused.
Say again?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be added right at the end.
So a motion would be in order?
Do it.
Everyone's sorting through their paper trying to find the motion.
All right, move to approve application 25-37P. This is the Casarino re-subdivision. Points 1 through 14 are already written, so I'll read points 15 and I'll read the point that's being written right now as well. I'll start off with point 15. The town engineer's review comment stated September 30th, 2025 must be incorporated in the final plan. Point 16, any trees to be removed within the town right-of-way are subject to the review and approval of the tree warden. Point 17, we would note that a representative house footprint is shown on the 2 interior lots. If this application is approved when an actual house plan is submitted, it is especially critical for elements to remain as shown on this application. The applicant and any purchasers need to understand that any modifications other than very minor ones would need to return to the commission for approval. Point 18, the plans shall reflect the new addresses. Lot 1 shall be 50 Chapel Road, Lot 2 shall be 548 Main Street, and Lot 3 shall be 556 Main Street. Point 19, and I'm going to try my best to read this here. A landscape bond in the amount of $5,000 is required and must be submitted prior to issuance of, what was that? Of CO if work is not completed. And not the one down here. Okay, that is it. Complete my motion.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. In which case we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to, okay, we're going to defer discussion of application 2540P, the BGS zone amendment, Down East zone amendment. We now have a PZC-sponsored amendment related to temporary conditional permits and major home occupations. Anyone care to make a motion? Did we provide I don't think we. Oh, okay.
You skipped the Down East application. I think that's why you've got people confused.
We're doing the PZC sponsored. We're skipping the Down East.
Oh, you are intentionally? Okay.
Yeah, you're going to
I gotta
provide
get
us
your measurements.
some detail, yeah.
You got it. That's right.
On the Down East, there's things that happened in the past, and people were looking up to see what's done in the past and couldn't find it tonight. And I think the overall application has to be a little more clear with all pertinent information to
Well,
help.
we've already closed the public hearing, so.
I know, okay.
So we can have a discussion when that comes up on the agenda. Which
Okay.
will be at the next meeting.
So just to confirm, we are not voting on Down East tonight? Correct, okay, cross it off, thank you.
Michelle's running upstairs, maybe she's gonna give us.
I thought she was gonna get us the information.
Oh, okay, well, let's say we're skipping it for now, we'll see.
You're concerned about the distance?
Yeah, she's gonna come back.
We'll get it.
Right up on the
All
We're
right.
going to recess if we have to.
Okay, for now, excuse me. For now, we're gonna skip it, and then we're gonna possibly come back. So now we're dealing with the temporary and conditional permits and major home occupations.
Move to approve PZC-sponsored amendment. This is the MHO renewals amendment. I'll read both of them. There's only 2 points. The Planning and Zoning Commission finds that the zone text is in conformance with the Town Plan of Conservation and Development. The effective date of the zone text amendments are October 18th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Then, number 5, the PZC-sponsored amendment for small and large-scale solar. And batteries. And trying. Oh, here it don't have the motion on the same sheet of paper. I'll tell you what, Alan, you made a motion on a similar thing.
I don't have the date.
It'll be the same date.
Okay, we'll do that. Move to approve. We're gonna improv this here. That's the 0.5 on the agenda for, here we go. PCC sponsored amendment for modifications to section 3.1.1 and section 4.1.1. The Planning and Zoning Commission finds that the zone text is in conformance with the Town Plan of Conservation and Development, and the effective date of these zone text amendments are on October 18th, 2025. Is that good?
Okay.
Perfect. Concludes my motion.
When do we get a second person? We have a discussion. Anybody seconding this? Yes. Okay, so now we can have a discussion, just turn on the light. Okay.
So we would like to add some comment that talks about the, it being an accessory use in the residential zone, the energy storage, battery energy storage.
Yep.
So however you want to word that.
I was gonna say, how do you want me to write that down
So,
here?
do you know what to do with that?
Still working. Still working.
I'm just trying to find a handout so I can do my. For which? I didn't have it, John.
Right, you need Downey's? or-
What do you need?
No, I'm looking for the handout for the Down East Associates.
Yeah, is this it?
That right there.
I think this is it, right?
He handed.
Oh,
The
okay.
applicant. Trying to do a measurement. Trying to get you a measurement, but I don't have the plan that he gave you.
I can pull it back up on the screen. It was uploaded there. Okay.
He didn't give us the slide.
So not this thing? Well, that's South Windsor.
Yeah, I think we're in the middle of a motion here.
Well, it was, roughly around this. This is one and
All right.
just 250.
So we have a motion and a second, and let's stick to that while we sort through the paper on the other one. Okay. On the solar.
Yeah, I just need help writing down .3, how we want it to be word for word.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you wanted to change one item somewhere in the text?
Yes. We want to be sure that the text indicates that battery storage systems, BESS, would not be a primary use in any residential zone, but an accessory use only.
That change in the table, the use table, I've added that it is accessory use only in residential zones. So the residential use table reflects that. The other question that came up was the idea of the 12 feet in height. 12 feet should be maximum for the batteries. So if we have 12 feet as the maximum for height for the batteries, and then any ancillary inverters or whatnot, I don't think we really want to put a height measurement on it, because that's going to really be dictated by the energy provider, Eversource or somebody. So if we put the batteries at a 12 feet height to start with as a maximum, my understanding is that would be satisfactory from the end user's perspective, and then whatever had to go above it would be dictated again by.
And I think we're also asking for all the wiring to be underground, right?
From the poles, to the extent possible, yes, they have to, the regulations require it to be underground unless they give you a letter as to why it can't be.
So I guess my feeling is, if an applicant comes in and they really need a 14-foot switch yard, they should ask for a change or go to ZBA, one of the two.
All right, so you want to just leave it as 12 as written then?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I mean, other accessory structures are limited, what, to the height of the building? I mean, if it's not the battery itself, it's something else.
Yeah.
What are the limits?
Well, in an industrial zone, your height limitation is 40 feet. So we don't really, again, accessory structures don't have a limitation on height in an industrial zone. They're dictated by site plan, you know, coverage ratios and things like that.
So, I mean, if they had, I mean, first of all, again, we're asking them to do the wiring underground, which means whatever switches are there need to be underground, right? Or
Near the ground.
connect near the ground or whatever. So I would say let's, you know, if that becomes a necessity, let them deal with it at the time in their application. Okay. Any other, you had something about, oh, we've got the accessory, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I have to say that I accept the comment, incorporate it as the third point on this approval conditions.
Okay, and our second approves?
Second.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, and now we are back to application 2540P.
So a distance from Smith Street, if that's what you're looking for, somewhere around 400 feet would be a conservative number. So I think what he showed us was probably maybe 450 or thereabouts, but I think 400 feet would give you an adequate buffer from Smith Street for structures now, 400 feet for structures. You might have driveways or parking areas or other things like that, but we're talking structures, right?
Okay. Where would we put that in the regulation?
I would put it under your section, which has the dimensions 511.4. Under 1, I would just add an asterisk to garden style and just note it underneath the table here. All buildings associated with garden style developments must be a minimum 400 feet from Smith Street.
Now, we did discuss the 200-foot buffer around Smith Street homes, but apparently that didn't get in our original reg.
No, it didn't.
Thank you.
No, we didn't have 200 feet, because I can recall that the single-family units were like 75 feet from the back of some of the Smith Street properties. So we didn't have a 200-foot buffer ever written into anything. We may have talked about it, but we didn't write it into anything.
Okay. I don't know whether we want to add it or not. I mean, they have a rear yard of 50 feet.
Yeah, I mean, a 200-foot buffer, you wouldn't be able to do the layout that they showed of the 210 units. It wouldn't work with a 200-foot perimeter buffer.
Wow. I don't know how we let that slip through. And we have the parking in here somewhere now?
So under the parking section, we're going to add a statement that 25% of the units must have access to enclosed parking, and that's when you're talking about a garden-style apartment.
Okay. So we got the change for the garden style, the 400 feet you said, and from structures.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the parking. Was there anything else we changed in their draft?
Did you want to reduce the number of buildings from 105 units to like 70, or I think he said 60 or 70 would be?
I don't know. I mean, I'm having trouble picturing 105 units in a 4-story apartment would be 25
26
across, so that's a lot. I don't know, what do we feel like? The picture he showed us was 4 units, 4 buildings. So do we want to change that to 60 or something?
I think he was represented 60 or 70 is what the applicant suggested would be an okay number, so.
70?
I would go with 70, just so we don't
Yeah.
have him back here looking for 60.
Okay. Any, so we're talking about paragraph 1 on section 511.4. We're changing
Correct.
105 to 70. Any other comments? Now, there was some discussion of whether we like rental or not. Do we want to separate that out or just vote on it with the way it is now, which allows rental? I think the applicant was strongly desirous of being able to do the rental. That may affect people's vote.
I will tell you, in your multifamily zone, you don't dictate whether it's rental or for sale product.
I mean, this is almost a commercial use, right?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Well, the whole reason this text amendment was being proposed was to be able to have a rental product. I mean, that was what he came in front of the commission and talked to us about preliminarily. So we did have knowledge that this was the reason for the change.
Okay.
And that's why you see the word property management included. It's
Yeah.
because it's gonna become a rental. That's what it's gonna become. And that's why that verbiage had to be added as well.
Okay.
That's what I said. That's why the homes, there's pride in ownership when there's the carriage houses.
On the other hand, you know, we had the comment from Commissioner Cavagnaro that there really is a need for rental units for, you know, people who, in the younger population, you know, coming out of school or whatever.
Well, this is not.
Yeah, actually, this is senior, right, right.
Okay? And then I look at it, we've got this facility on Main Street in South Windsor. We can't get anybody to go in there. And that's the most affordable apartments you're gonna find in town.
The important thing you can have is having some kind of house or an asset that is fixed, that, you know, something happens, you can't take that away. That's you want that asset.
Ownership, I think, is more critical for the stability of the project.
Correct. That's not transient.
So what do we want to do? Do we want to, I mean, we can either not approve this, or we could change and allow condominiums, or what do we want to do here?
Well, first we have to you have to vote on what's here first.
Well, we did discuss the subject of rental, so we can make that kind of change. I wouldn't be in favor of it, but that's me.
Would that affect the tax revenue? If it's an apartment, then the owners of the apartment would be doing the taxes. If it's owned by people, then it'd be individual tax bills. On the revenue side, which is better for the town?
I have no idea.
With personal property tax, I would imagine it would be with the individual homeowners.
Be easier to administer.
Isn't it easier to just vote on what they specifically asked for, and then if they want to come back and modify it based on all our comments, they could do that? Instead of us modifying it, and then they send it back to them, and they go, this isn't what we wanted.
I agree.
Just stick with what's in front of us.
Then we can deny it, and then come back with something we like.
Right.
Okay. All right, so in that case, we can vote on this proposed amendment. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Has a motion been made?
I thought we had, okay, well, somebody should read the motion, I'm sorry. Well, you can make the motion, you know.
Good, make a motion.
Guess I'll do all the motions tonight. Motion to approve application 25-40P Down East Text Amendment. The Planning and Zoning Commission finds that the zone text is in conformance with the Town Plan of Conservation and Development. The effective date of the zone text amendments are October 18th, 2025.
Okay, now we vote. All in favor?
We need a second, We need a second.
I'll second it. Chair can second things. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we need to call the roll.
Commissioner Cavagnaro,
Yes.
Commissioner Viteri,
Nay.
Commissioner Foley,
Nay.
Commissioner Dexter,
Aye.
Commissioner Kapchunas,
Nay.
Commissioner Kilburn,
Nay.
Chair Wagner,
Aye.
4 nays, 3 ayes.
Okay, the motion fails. Do we want to indicate that? Well, we have in the past done these without prejudice. I don't know if there's anything that they would want to do to make it more palatable, but I guess the only thing that would work would be if it was not rental. Okay, so is it worth giving them?
I'm not sure which guidance I would give him, to be honest with you. I didn't hear a clear message other than maybe not a rental product. I don't know if a multifamily condominium product is okay or not. So I would encourage him to listen to the tape and see if there's something they want to propose based on what they heard.
And if we make it without prejudice, it should be easier for them to come in, or?
Well, you've already made your motion and your vote, so you're kind of past being able to do that. I think you have a resubmission clause, if you recall, we added to our regulations after our last denial that says unless it's substantially different, the commission doesn't have to take it up for a year. So that would be their option, or your decision if something were to come in, whether or not you felt it was substantially different or not to take it up.
But if it's, I mean, that would be a substantial change. That's not.
Yes, I would say if you're going from a rental product to a for sale product, it would be yes.
Okay.
So they may choose to come back in with something.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on then. So we have comment from Metro Realty that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I sent to you 11 by 17 plan. For those that were members of the commission at the time, there was an approval condition about the 1 acre of land, conservation land that was being left. And the approval condition was something to the effect that the developer should work with town staff and the neighbors to come up for a plan for that 1 acre. So working with Metro Realty, Ben Tripp specifically, and with Justin Russo, our landscape architect, this plan was created. This plan was sent out by certified mail to all the abutters with a 30-day time frame if they had any comments or questions or concerns to get back to the developer. I think he heard back from 2 people with some minor comments that have been accommodated on this plan. So really, it's just to let you folks know that a plan has been come up with. This is the plan that'll be incorporated into the final plans. I have been requested to set up a pre-construction meeting for this project, so sometime in the next couple of weeks, we'll be having a pre-construction meeting. And so I just wanted to bring this back to the commission just to kind of close the loop on finalizing that approval, so.
So that's just information, we don't.
Yeah,
need
you don't
to
have to
act-
take any action on it at all, it's
Need
just
to
so that you know how it's.
Any
how
questions?
it's-
Anybody have any questions or comments? Okay. Moving on to the last item.
And the last item's a little unusual too. Got some unusual ones tonight. As part of the process for the town in accepting deeds for land, in this case an open space piece of property, we have a town ordinance that talks about the planning and zoning as well as the Inland Wetlands Agency is supposed to review the wording of the deed and say whether or not it's acceptable to them, to the town council. I imagine it's written so that if there were some kind of restrictions that were needed to be put in based on a planning and zoning approval or based on, in a wetland situation, some other kinds of restrictions, the idea would be that those bodies could make sure that their concerns were incorporated into a deed. This is a straight deed for property. It's an open space that's being purchased with town bond money. So it's a pretty standard deed. The language in it has been prepared by the town attorney. And so he asked that I put it on the agenda for you to make a finding of acceptance of this deed that will be forwarded to the town council. And just kind of giving you a preview, the town council will be taking this to public hearing as part of the process for the update to the ordinance when we purchase properties. So this is all part of a process for the purchase of this property.
So then a motion,
A motion of acceptance would be appropriate.
I make a motion to accept the wording of the warranty deed for 155 Griffin Road.
recommend to the town council to accept.
And recommend to the town council to accept this.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Do we have any bonds? I think we have one bond, and we have about a
You
minute.
do have one bond. This is an old sidewalk bond on South Satellite. It was part of a subdivision approval that put in sidewalks. And this is a piece of it that's being handled by a developer. So this is a maintenance bond for 1 year to ensure that the public sidewalk stays intact. It's a part of our subdivision reduction policy, so.
Move to approve subdivision bond 12-28P, Nutmeg subdivision sidewalk, amount 58,000, reduction 52,000 with a balance of 5,800. That balance is in an asterisk because it says maintenance bond to expire in 1 year time.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Did someone second that?
I second.
Okay, thanks.
And I notice that we've arrived at 10 o'clock. Sorry.
Motion to adjourn.
Doom, doom, doom.
Second.
All in favor?